Hi everyone. My name is David Smith, and I've been passionate about painting with watercolors my whole life. Today, I'm going to show you exclusive painting techniques that no one has ever known before. Make sure to watch until the end so you don't miss a single detail.
Okay, so now I've got my board, tilted like 5, maybe even 10 degrees. And let's move down into the buildings. And let's just keep moving this this color down into the buildings and just let that color run right through the sky color, run right through the buildings. And now when we get into this building, I just tone in the paper, linking and connecting. And now as I get into this building, we're going to, I got some Quinn Gold. And notice I'm letting this building link to this building, letting this building run into my tree. This is the tree shape. I'm letting things link and connect. I don't want to look stripy though. So there we go. And I'm just toning the paper. Oops, I forgot. What do I want to have white? Which again, if it doesn't end up, is the side of that tree. If we can, if not, no big deal. Now this tree, I'm gonna grab some, that was some muddy Quinn Gold. This is some cobalt teal. And because there's a tree there, I thought, well, let's make it kind of a greenish color. So I got my Quinn Gold, which is the yellow, and I got a cobalt teal, which is kind of a greenish blue. I got those kind of colors mixing together there. And running that, whoops, don't run through the tree. The highlight of the tree. That's the only thing I'm trying to like carve around. And then this is all grass down right here, right? And I said I was going to ignore that guy. We'll see if he gets into this picture or not here. Okay. And maybe in the grass, it's got a variety of colors. There's some reds in the grass. And then down here is those light bushes. Toning the paper. Starting off loose. And we will get tighter later. There's some more Quinn Gold. Now, notice when I toned this building, I didn't start identifying the roof. Why? Because that gold would leak up. You see how it bled, right? And it would leak up in the sky. I don't mind the sky running into the building, but I didn't really want the building color running up into the sky. So I'll let that sit a little bit. And then if we want to tone that a little bit more accurately, we can. But I was afraid that might run up and we have this kind of orange up in the sky. So that's why I didn't get, right up to the line, because everything's really wet right now. All right. So, and then maybe this, let's see, this is some alizarin crimson. Whatever color you want your buildings, we're just toning them, avoiding anything that's white, and we're trying to not let this color here run up into the sky. If it does, and look at that, I just ran all the way through that. I'm not worried about it. Down here, we're going to have a bunch of, I spattered water down there because I want to just keep this light. And another thing I like to do too is put a tissue in my other hand. If there's some color getting in an area you don't want it, you can hit it with the tissue. So far, I'm fine because I don't mind this being light value. If it's got whites, that's fine, but I don't mind it being light. I'm sorry. The reason I did that right there is because I spattered water and the water hit the paint and the paint spattered over there. So I got a little bit of some orange dots right there, and now they're gone. I just picked up with the tissue. Let's see. Let's now this is settling a little bit. Let's put some color up here, and notice I can get some edge quality now because this has had a little bit of a chance to settle in. And the color I grabbed there was, I had a little bit of Quinn Gold still on my brush. So it kind of, and I grabbed some cobalt teal, which is that bluish color. So it got kind of a greeny color there. And this is all going to be darks and mids later, so I don't really need to worry about that. It's this stage of the painting process, you can have quite a bit of fun and not worry too much. Just toning the paper. And I don't want this red getting up in my sky. I think this is dry enough where I can tone this a little bit. Yep. I'm able to get some line edge quality. Now, if you're, do a test mark, like if you put your brush down and it's just expanding out, then you need to wait a bit. You need to wait before you start trying to carve out shapes, okay? All right, so we've toned all this, we've toned this. All I need to do now is tone this down here, and then the paper is basically tinted. And maybe I'll just get up a bigger brush. This is a Scotta Prado brush, size 16, and this is a bigger brush. And let's just tone this some greenish color down here. And look at that, I'd let that go right up into the building, I don't care. All right, everything is toned. This is all grasses and stuff down here, so that's why I kind of chose a bluish green color. And down here, we'll tone that too.
I hope you're enjoying this lesson. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite everyone who wants to improve their painting skills to my free masterclass, where I'll share even more watercolor painting hacks. Click the link in the video description to register for free. See you there soon.
When I saw it bleeding out more than I wanted to, I knew that, oh, I have too much moisture on my brush, for example. But there was no problem. I just hit it with a tissue if I want. Now look at the nice soft edges I was getting. Now I'm yapping here for a bit, so let's get back to it. Okay, so here we go. I'll just use my hand to kind of integrate that because we were yapping for a while. Okay, the first thing I should have done actually, after you dry your paper, is redraw anything that you can't see. I'm okay, but if there's some areas you can't see, go back in there and redraw those areas. All right, now that I'm getting over to this tree, some of the tops of the tree is light and white, so maybe I'll leave some sparkle there. But over on this side, it's a lot of it's in shadow, right? So I don't mind pulling that down. And then we're getting down. Now that's not a bead. I was talking about using a bead. So let's get the bead going. Let's drop in, let's make a puddle. The bead was a puddle, right? And there's the puddle, okay? And now I'm going to move that puddle down into this. There's this area of foliage down here, and you can see it running down there. So I'm trying to use a similar approach to as what I did on the and I'm going to drop in some cools into this. And a board, you can see it running down. So my board's tilted. It's about a 5-degree angle tilted down. And I see this left side. So the sun's coming from the right. The sun's coming this way, right? So this side we want lighter, and this side's in shadow, right? Right. All right. So we're moving this down. And then there's this wall, which we just set, and I'm going to move that bead. Look how the bead just flowed down there. And I can change colors. Maybe I want the wall to have some more reds in it. There, I moved it into some reds. So there's the top of the wall, but I left a little bit of a little line there to suggest the top of the wall, right? And maybe that's, I'm changing colors again. Maybe that's too much red, and I throw in some other colors. Any color you want. And then we said there's the side of the tree that we're going to leave white. But the left side of the tree has got the shadow, right? It runs down. And so there's the bead running down. And you can see there's a big puddle here. Actually, there's the shadow shape. It's like here. And this, we want to link it and connect to the shadow of the tree. Runs out like that. I'll just use my finger to kind of muck that up a little bit. All right, and guess what I like to do? I like to spatter water. So I'm going to take this tree here, I'm going to spatter some water on it. And then we're going to bring some of that color over. Let this side link to this side, but we want to leave some highlights on this right-hand side, right? The sun's coming here, and we want some highlights on this side. But it's not all light. There's some shadow shapes within the tree, right? And the color is the same color. I'm letting this tree color run into the foliage here, the foliage color run into the wall. If it looks like, too stripy, you can just integrate it with your brush like that, pull it out. Now we're identifying that right-hand side of the tree by negative painting, by painting around it. Okay, now we're seeing the trunk of the tree right there, right? And that puddle's moving down, that bead of color is moving down. And then there's the figure. We're just going to run right through him. If you wanted, and we're going to bring that, and there's a pale, it's got a pale there. Maybe there's a little highlight. If you want to, let's see, we can change some colors in him. Just any color I want, as long as I can get the value that I'm after. We'll just run right through him, and we can put some opaque white on him later if we want to. And I'm going to tilt my board this way because that puddle's really building up. I don't want him to have this huge, huge foot, right? And then we'll pull that shape, that shadow shape of the figure out. And there's going to be like a chicken or something there. Tilting my board at a diagonal, letting the color run through the figure, through the chicken. And we can, and if we're going to put a chicken down here, we can start identifying him as well. There's going to be a little chicken, and he's going to have a little chicken shadow or rooster. There he is. So look how we let the trees run into the bushes, run into the wall, run into this tree, run through the figure, run through the chicken, letting one shape link and connect to its neighboring shape. This is all going to be mid-value. The only shape that I'm kind of concerned about is the tree, because I want to leave some light values to suggest the light hitting the side of that tree. And so when I put the color there, which we see in the picture, there's some mids and darks right here. That's identifying that side of the tree, right? I use my finger to kind of break that up a little bit. Now, before I continue with this building here, let's move up into this area. Let's create a little puddle, a little bead. And maybe I'll make it a little cooler back here. And then it's that shadow runs across, just like we talked about in the value study, it runs across this side. If you want me to zoom in on anything, let me know. I can zoom right in on everything. The little areas that are not linked and connected, I do that towards the end, like little details, like there's a little shadow underneath this window and a little, we can do that now, but we can do the little details, the things that are not linked and connected. We can do those things later at the end. Now that we're starting to put these mid values in, we're starting to see this thing come into focus. Like if we look at this side over here, if there was no drawing, it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. I'm not sure if you'd be able to recognize this as a building, right? If there was no drawing, if that line wasn't there, it would just be a big swatch of orange, right? So things are pretty out of focus over here. When you start getting your values darker, things start to get in focus. We're going from out of focus, and now we're getting things into focus. I'm going to spatter some water, break things up a little bit, cause some chaos. You can spatter some paint too if you want. So I'm just tapping my brush, and if there's things you don't want, like I don't want spatter up in my sky, you can protect it. And then you can, I spattered a little bit of some Quin Gold in there. A little stronger, a little milky consistency Quin Gold. And now already we're starting to get a suggestion of maybe there's some tree or foliage there. And when we darken it, when we darken the side later, when we do our dark values, that'll make this side of the tree pop out, okay? Now, what did we do for the top of that roof when we did the value study? We pulled this color. Now, this is already, I've been yapping, it's not a bead anymore. So I grabbed a little bit of color on my brush, and I'll just pull my brush across. It's a little, got too much gold in there because I was spattering the gold. So I'm cleaning my brush, getting that cool color. And I'm pulling that across. There we go. And I'll just pull it all the way across, all this whole thing. Now we've got some texture in our building. Okay. And then I forgot the chimney, just like in the value study and just like we see in the picture, this should have some color too. I chose to make it a cool because I kind of wanted to push this area back, and I'll bring some shadow shapes across like that. All right, there we go. Now this side here should be in shadow. There we go. And we don't need to make a perfectly straight line here because it's an old building that it's got little imperfections, and it's got the blocks and stone. Actually, that's all going to be in shadow later, so we don't worry about it. You can see how wet that is. I really like to work wet. You know, if I'm trying to create dry brush effects, then I use a thirsty brush. But for the most part, maybe I'll make this a little bit darker right here, just to separate the sky from the building. Okay, and then same thing I did on this roof. Let's do it on this roof. Now this is nice and wet, so I can just pull that color across, right? Now there is in the picture, it's a little lighter right along there, so maybe I'll just move my brush a little bit over that. There we go. Now this is slightly darker than this. All right, and we can, in the picture, there's a really dark value right along that rooftop. So again, we can do more of this later. And if we want to separate this wall, this building, this tower from the sky, if you look at the picture, it's actually darker along the side anyway. So you can put a little bit of some light value along that edge, and there's a little bit of a separation now from this to this. All right. The window, I'm not going to worry about. We can mess with, that's kind of details and a lot of dark values in there. All right, now we're going to move back into this building. We already started toning it, but now we're going to go back into it again. Look at all the blossoms and blooms that were created when I spattered paint and spattered some water. Isn't that fun? And the soft edges I got over here. Oh my gosh. Let's look at, well, we can play with that more later. All right, let's create that bead again. And what color do we want this building? I don't know. How about a variety of colors? This is alizarin crimson. I'm going to play with, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have a good time, boy. Let me tell you, I'm going to grab some clean gold. I'm going to grab anything I want. If I do, sometimes when I play so much with color, I create mud. If you do see mud, then you just stop and you clean your brush and you pick up some clean color and you drop in some clean color and then continue on. That was some cobalt teal. Look at, now I've got gold, red, cobalt teal. There's some other colors down there. I'll use any color I want, as long as I like the color and I can get the value that I'm after, then I'm okay. And as the shadow goes down here, all right, we've got all kinds of fun colors in there. And now the roof, again, gonna clean my brush, dry my brush. I'm gonna pull the color across using the side of my brush. And I'm gonna try not to hit the sky. It looks a little brownish. I'm going to grab some clean color. Got a little careless there. Just hit it with a tissue. All right. There we go. And this is going to be a dark value anyway, so I just let it run right in there. Trying to make a separation from this to this. So there's a little bit of sparkle, some suggestion of texture. If you want to create more texture, what can you do? Well, if it's too wet and you put droplets of water on there, it'll just integrate. You won't get much of an effect. But once it's going from like really wet and it's moving from a shiny wet to a dull wet, what can you do? You can spatter water on it. And what will that do? It'll create little blossoms and blooms. The greater moisture follows less moisture. So the greater moisture of that droplet hits the pigment. It's wicked out by the less moisture and it pushes the pigment and it creates little blossoms and blooms. So now I've created texture with spattered water. I love spattering water. Okay, and then there's the shadow that runs underneath this eave of this building. Goes over here like that. And then we're into these bushes. I'm going to grab some of the Quin Gold. And I'm using kind of the side of my brush because I want some of the original color to show through. And I can spatter some water on it. And I can spatter some paint on it. And where does it go? It goes all the way over to about right about here. And then we want to keep this bottom irregular because there's some light valued bushes right here, right? Some light valued bushes. All right, now this side of the building, just like this side of the building, is in shadow. Let's integrate that in better. Okay. So let's darken this side of the building. What color should we make it? Any color you want. And maybe there's some highlights on the bushes right there, so I'll just stop right there. That happens to be some muddy cobalt teal with some lavender. Maybe I'll grab some other colors and drop it in there. Just like over here, I got a variety of colors. I just dropped in some alizarin crimson. Any color you want, if you like the color, by all means use it, is one of my favorite phrases that I heard Frank Francais said. He said, if you like a color, by all means use it. I was like, yes, amen, brother. So now, this is actually very, very tea and coffee consistency, but I know later this is going to be a dark value, right? So dark values we don't have to worry about too much. We're going to be doing that later. I see there's a little bit of a highlight on this part of the window. So I'll just do that. I'll pull its color across. And again, this building's going to be really dark, so we don't worry about it. So just like this has got a shadow underneath the eave, this has got a shadow shape, and underneath here, and then there's the foliage, which is going to be dark. This is going to be dark later, but just so you can see it start to evolve, this is going to be a dark shape later. Some foliage, and it comes all the way up here, and this is going to be dark, so we don't worry about it. Wow, I'm having fun. All right, just like the value study, I'm moving this color right into this color, linking and connecting. This side's in shadow, letting it run right into, letting this building run into this building. Fearless, just go for it. If you make a mistake, just remember it's a piece of paper. All right, now those are linked and connected. Later on, we're going to separate it just like we did in the value study. So don't worry, right? In the value study, we're going to make this dark, which is going to separate this from this, right? So right now they're linked and connected, but later on we will, and again, this is going to be dark later, but just so you can see how it starts to evolve, I'll put that there. And already it's already starting to come into focus. All right, now we got the rooftops. Actually, let's pull this shadow shape, goes across. That, and this guy's going to be dark later, so we don't worry about it. And then we got the roofs. Grabbing some of this color, and I grabbed a little bit of the violet dioxazine purple color. Now there's a little bit of a separation from the roof from the sky. All right, and I left a little sparkle with some dry brush. Same thing in this guy. Let's pull some of this color across. Which also will help separate this building here from that building. Maybe I'll get a little bit even darker, which we see in the picture actually, right there. Okay, so it's starting to come into focus now, right? It was out of focus, and now we're starting to slowly see these buildings and these villages starting to take shape. Let's get this guy darker. That's alizarin crimson. And changing colors every once in a while. Here's some of the cobalt teal. having a good time. And if just relax, enjoy watching these interminglings of color. Oh, it's so much fun. I just love watercolor. I don't know. It's just watching these colors blend into each other. All right, there's this part up here, and now I can really identify this, right? Because we're not, before it was, the sky was all wet. And so that side's in shadow. And I'm letting the chimney run into the building, letting the rooftop of the building run into the walls, linking and connecting. Getting my head in the picture, nice shiny head. All right. Maybe I'll pull a little bit of that up just because we're going to identify that a little bit better. Okay, so now we're starting to see the village starting to take shape. Let's just grab some of this color. Let's go into the shadow shape of this chimney. The shadow side of the chimney. Now that's not going to show up. Gold on gold is not going to really show up, right? So I need to get the value that I'm after. So I need to get a little stronger pigment, a little cooler. So I went to the red. So there's a chimney there. And that cast shadow of the chimney is going to be dark later, but I'll go ahead and paint it just so you can see again how this picture is going to start to evolve. And now we got some choices to make. I'm going to make that a mid value. I'll make that a lighter value. I'll make this part a mid value. Grabbing some different colors, having fun. Just having fun, I'm having fun, I'm having fun. Just keep telling yourself that. Even if you're going crazy, say, this is fun. No, it is fun. I just love it. I hope you can see that. I love just playing when I paint. I love just having a good time. I'll pull down a little bit of this. Okay, we'll identify that more with some dark values, right? There's going to be the dark cast shadows on the one side. But this might be the one go. I know I might not go back into that, so I'll darken that a little bit. Okay, now we're coming to the fun part. These bushes down here. What are we going to do with all these bushes down here? I have no idea. No, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to spatter water. Sorry if anybody had to go to something. I know I'm just trying to give you, like I say, biggest bang for your buck. I know it's free, but I still want to give you a lot of information. I just love painting and I love sharing my passion for watercolor. So sometimes I get a little long-winded. Okay, so I put the dark in there. Okay, we're going to suggest the side of the tree here. So just like we did in the value study, I put some darks here, put some darks there. And now we're starting to see, when I did that, when I put the darks here, you're starting to see a little bit better that left side of the tree, right? So let me just put a little bit more dark there. There we go. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of that left side of the tree as I put the darks in there. The shadow shape, boom, dark there, and we won't worry about the figure. He just needs some highlights on him. Let's put the darks here. We'll suggest the side of this building. So I negative painted that corner to suggest, to help pop out this part of the building by making this side darker. I'll tie that in. And then there's a window up here. Boom, we'll just suggest that. And again, darken that. Let's go up here. Where is it darker? Oh, there's a nice dark right there. Nice dark cast shadow right there. Right now we're starting to see this thing come together. A couple little dark windows, boom, dark rooftop, boom. There we go. A little dark along there. And the cast shadow came across here. I forgot to put that in earlier. And then there's the window, bang, bang, bang. This is a suggestion of the window. Okay, wow, look at it. The darks, when you start putting those darks in, boy, everything starts to, and this is actually not even that dark. everything starts to really come together, really makes things pop. And the little details we can do on your own. But already, is that building in the back really starting to come together, right? And now we're starting to see the tree a little bit better as I start putting some of those other values in. And maybe putting that window in there helped it a little bit. And then we'll put a little dark here, here a dark, here, there a dark, dark door, boom. All right, you can barely even see it. Already, this part is starting to really pop. Little window right here. And my hand's going in the paint, which we know I'm going to be putting other places. That's my signature, is put the hand in the paint. And then we got this dark here on the roof. And now look at that. It's separated. When we put the dark in the roof, it's separating this from that, right? We're identifying, it started out of focus, everything linking, connecting. Now we're starting to separate things a bit. There's a little cast shadow there. This is a little bit of a complicated shape here. There we go. I think it's looking pretty good. Okay, we will call that fine. And then let's move up to here. And then there's a little dark, the dark windows, which are linked, and we don't want to make it too dark. It's off in the distance. So I'm getting a little more water on my brush. It's dark underneath here, it links to the windows. And we could play with those. We can play with the little details all day long. There's no end of all the little, get my head out of the camera. Let me know if my head gets in the camera too much. I know you like looking at my shiny head, but I'll try and keep it out of the picture. When I start doing details, I start getting closer and closer to the canvas. And I'm pulling that dark, I'm linking that shadow under the roof into the windows. And there's a variety of values in those areas, but that'll be fine. All right, now look how it's starting to take shape, right? All right, let's get a nice dark on here. If we gotta let that dry a little bit, we could have got some dry brush there, but it's all right. We're just gonna do that. And there's some dark right along here, in here. There's a dark window, like right there. We'll just suggest that side of the brush. We'll just suggest the side of the window here with the side of the brush. And if you want to make it more detailed and stuff, you can do that on your own. Little details. Please straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, now the fun part. Let's do these crazy bushes, and let's see how it's come together. So this is the wild and crazy fun part. Spattering some water. And I'm going to spatter some paint. I'm going to start warm, move to cool. So I'm going to grab some Quin Gold. Now, look at that. I've got an irregular, interesting edge to the shape. I've got some dry areas. I got some wet areas. I got a variety of edges to those spattered areas, and where it hits dry paper, get hard edges. Where it hits wet paper, I get some soft and some lost edges. Let's move into some cobalt teal, some greenish color. Bluish, the bluish color will hit the gold and make some greens. Milk consistency. And get some phthalo blue. I'm getting cooler and darker, aren't I? Getting some phthalo blue. And some indigo. actually the indigo, let's bring it all the way down here. Let's fill this in. All right. Ooh. All right, let's see what we got. I got my board tilted at about 5 degrees, so things, you can see how it's kind of running down, which is kind of fun, and letting colors integrate on the paper. Now, while that's settling a little bit, let's get some color into this area here. I'll just use the side of my brush, and so I get some. I'm not sure. Let's see. When I did it before, I did more of spattering water. So we'll spatter some water too. I'm going to try and show you how I got the effects I did on the other one. I'll spatter some water down here. There's more than one way of going about all this. Using the side of the brush. And this goes all the way over here. And then let's pull some of this up. I see blades of grass. Let's just do this. How high does it go? It goes way up here. And let's make it kind of irregular. I don't want it to be a straight line. I want it to go up and then back down. Make it interesting, an interesting action line. An action line is this. It's the silhouette shape. That's the action line of the buildings. The action line of the grass goes up and then goes down and goes back up. So the action line. All right, now we're starting to see these colors integrating. We're creating an environment where all these fun interminglings of color happen. Like if you look at the beautiful interminglings of color that happen right there. Oh, I just love it. Let's get some dark value. I know we're cruising along here. I'm going to pull, just like I did in the value study, I'm going to pull some darks out here. The shadow shape. And there was actually a shadow off this wall, which I could have used the mid-value color. And then there's the shadows off the grasses, which ties right into the grass, right? You can use your finger to pull it out. I want to make sure all these shadows are pretty much going the same direction. Then you got a negative paint around these grasses. We're almost done. All right, we'll spatter some water on that because I am crazy like that. And let's get some more darks into here. And we'll negative paint around suggestions of some grasses. So I'm just kind of pulling down with a pointy brush. Now it looks like those might be some grasses down there, right? Let's block this in. Get rid of some highlights there. Okay, now it looks like that's the top of the some grasses in the foreground, right? Right. Okay, now this has had a chance to settle a little bit. I'm going to put a thicker pigment into thinner pigment. Whoops, somebody spattered some water up here, and what happened? It hit that building, pulled it out there, just hit it with a tissue. And during the workshop, I'll show you how to correct little things like that, how to lift that out. It's no problem, not a big deal. Okay, let's spatter a little bit stronger pigment. So some nice creamy pigment, cobalt teal, and some indigo. Get a nice rich dark. A bit better. This is all pretty much mid and dark in here. Looking at the values in the picture, what do I see? And look at that. I know it's wet. I told you I work wet and loose, and I like to have fun, and I did not lie. Boy, I went crazy. And then we talked about how you can push the pigment. If you want it, when the sheen starts to go away, you can start to take your brush and pull up, and that'll start pushing the pigment and suggest grasses as well. All right, and maybe just for the fun of it, we'll put a couple pterodactyls in here. Couple birds, boom. All right, hopefully in that fast value painting and color, you got an idea of one approach to painting in watercolor. Working, lights, then mids, then darks, all right? And planning it out first on a little value painting before hitting it in color, how to create interesting textures, how to keep it loose, how to let colors integrate and identify the big shapes.